we're all familiar with the story of Noah and the ark, aren't we? It's something that we've all learned as a kid. It's a lesson in obedience, I think, if you were taught as I was. But I think there may be another lesson in that common parable for each of us here today, as it applies to leadership in particular.
So 8.5 billion. That's 8.5 billion. That's the world's population just 19 years from right now. That means the world's population will have surged by 1.5 billion people in less than 2 decades. To put that in perspective, 1.5 billion was the population of the entire planet just 100 years ago.
So imagine that you're out there with him. We're all on that boat. There's some extra room. We threw off some animals. And I kind of think of like Deadliest Catch, right? We've got these towering waves, and we've this wind, and this ark is packed full of animals, hippos and woodpeckers and alligators and a rhinoceros or two. And he doesn't have lights to keep him company at night, maybe just a few small oil lamps, lots of sights and sounds, probably some interesting smells, no doubt.
So we've already discussed the traditionalists and our friends, the baby boomers. But before we move on to Generation X, let's do a quick poll. So who in here is a baby boomer? Raise your hands. A bunch of you. All right, so put your hands down. Who in here is a member of Generation X? Raise your hands. Sir, we said hands, not middle finger. All right, so this is what happens oftentimes. Baby boomers are proud of it, and they always want you to know. Whenever I ask this, the room goes up.
In all of those external conditions, the waves and the wind, I can't help but think that Noah was confident that it was not going to be some external condition that brought down the vessel. But every so often I wonder, did Noah walk to the back of the boat and just double check that those 2 woodpeckers were still in the cage?
The flood of new workers from these 1.5 billion new people is creating a density of talent that's compelling a complete restructuring of the world of work. We're at a tipping point. And this morning, I want to give you a glimpse of what's going to change in your industry over the next several years. The goal is that if you can see what is coming, then adapting and changing becomes easier. The organizations that are going to fail are those that are going to be comprised of individuals who are opposed to change. With Generation X, we find that they're inherently more skeptical than their baby boomer parents. They often sit back, and what they're doing is they're waiting for me to establish credibility up here before they start to believe and participate. And the same is true with Generation X at your organization.
It's rarely the external circumstances that'll bring down an organization or sink Noah's boat. More often, it's the internal behavior, it's the choices, and it's the application of the things you learn here today that are going to be the biggest determinant of success in your organization.
And I said something to the effect of, don't worry, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you're checking Facebook while I'm speaking. Well, we find that millennials tend to have pretty bold personalities, and she was absolutely no different. She looked right back at me and said, actually, I've got 5,000 followers on Twitter, and I've been tweeting all the great one-liners that you've said. Wow. See, this was just her version of taking notes. And it reminded me that if we make assumptions based on our perceptions of behavior, well, we risk destroying a relationship, rather than empowering individuals to make an impact in the way that best suits their passions and their talents.